And
There we go.
I started the recording, so for those of you who do not wish to be recorded at the end, maybe during Q&A, then please go ahead and let us know. We're happy to turn it off so you can ask your question off the record. So Dr. Ann, go ahead and take it away.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. How's my audio, by the way?
Sounds good.
Sounds good. Okay, because I'm in the country and sometimes, you know, the gerbils and the squirrels don't like me. So it's good.
Gerbils?
Yes, gerbils. All right. Good morning, everybody. Thank you for the opportunity. I'm getting a little bit of feedback. I'm not quite sure if it's me or. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Good morning, and I appreciate the time today to share with you a couple of things. One, I want to introduce to you a couple of wonderful individuals, and these individuals are individuals who are in the trenches working with individuals who the technology that we create and are evangelizing and believe in so much is helping and will help in the future. I think so many times when we get on these types of meetings, we have the technologists, we have, you know, some of the providers, but sometimes we don't have input from or have the ears from the people who really are at the front of the line touching the patients, or in this case, you'll hear me use the term clients, who really the technology, blockchain as an example, or AI, or the metaverse in some near future will impact. And so this presentation really talks to the situation and the why of what we do in terms of why the technology, why do we even do what we do? So on the call, I do have a couple of leaders. I'm not quite sure if I have all three leaders, but I know I have at least two leaders on the call, and I'll have them introduce themselves and talk a little bit about the work that they do. Again, to give us an understanding as to the why. Why do we do what we do? Now, let me see, next screen here. All right, so our agenda today, I'm going to go through this really fast because I know we have a limited amount of time. We're going to talk about some of the assumptions and the introductions, again, the why, and some of the policy drivers and use case for a solution that we've deployed, which is a case management solution on blockchain, okay? And I would venture to say, and I may be wrong, but I'd venture to say that we're probably the first to deploy case management software on blockchain within the community behavioral health, and community-based organization sphere. I'll tell you a little bit about our journey and then share with you my vision for the Web3. Very, very small component of it, obviously. And then hopefully you can have some questions and answers. So our assumptions are that, you know, we, the audience here on this call, we are familiar with blockchain and Web3, so I'm not going into that. And I'm not a blockchain developer, as you all know, okay? But what we are, and both me and the leaders who have joined me as part of our pilot that we're doing right now, we're visionaries, we're change agents, right? We are exponential thinkers. And we are also educators, and we are harmonizers, not disruptors, okay? So let me introduce first the two organizations and their leaders, and I'll ask them both to speak when it's their turn, just to tell a little bit about who they are. So first of all, Anna Pereira. Anna, are you on?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay.
Hello, everybody. Good morning.
Good morning. So Anna is the Chief Executive Officer of Adonai Counseling and Employment. And Anna, tell the team a little bit about, you know, your background and what you do.
So ACT-IAC is a behavioral health organization we're actually out of Washington State. We're centered out of Tacoma, Washington, but we pretty much service most of the state of Washington, with case management being in 5 counties in Washington. We provide behavioral health. We do our biggest focus is within those that have been formerly justice involved, helping with their transition back to the communities. We've just added on a new housing component to our program. We do employment and training. We not just do work with those who have been formerly justice involved, but we also have a large clientele of those that have intellectual disabilities as well. We've been around since 2015 officially as ACT-IAC. Prior to that, we'd been around since 2009 as All For You Counseling, and then changed to become an employee-owned organization. We have a nonprofit arm with us as well. So I'll turn it over to my colleague Franklin and let him do his introduction.
Good morning, everybody, and Dr. Ingram. My name is Franklin Smith, and I'm the Chief Operations and Contract Officer with Fresh Start Professional Services. Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Fantastic. Thank you. Fresh Start Professional Services is an organization created by members of the BIPOC community to help address the issues of recidivism, diversion, and just the issue of criminal justice and the imbalance of our system, and try to create a more restorative justice model in the Seattle and greater King County areas. We were created by members of the BIPOC community, and we're made up of individuals of both professional educators as well as individuals like myself of lived experience that have been impacted by the criminal justice system. One of our biggest contributions is the fact that our mission is to assist in dismantling the school to prison pipeline, getting individuals to understand what this pipeline is and how it's affected them in their journey throughout life, as well as stopping the mass incarceration, reducing recidivism by providing individuals information and access to higher opportunities of learning, higher opportunities of living, and being able just to advance them for more towards a quality living.
Thank you. And one of the things I mentioned to both Anna and Franklin is that this team here, several of the individuals work at the VA or used to work at the VA or are veterans. Like myself, I am a veteran. My whole family is a veteran. And I've also been impacted by, PTSD and other types of challenges. Let me put it that way. So the work that both ACT-IAC and Fresh Start does also service the veteran population, right? And I think it's important that when we think about the technology that we develop, again, truly understanding who we are serving with the technology and who we're enabling and elevating. And of course, Exponential Health Tech Advisors, LLC. I am the Chief Executive Officer and co-founder. And we are also going to be forming Axion Galaxy Incorporated. Our solution is called Axion Galaxy 360 Holistic Management Network. Our background, we are also a health information technology professional services. A lot of our work so far has been done with implementation of EHR's solutions like Epic and Cerner, right? So we've taken that set of skills, both from a technology standpoint and a technical standpoint, as well as the professional services standpoint, used in both acute care and ambulatory services, and then bringing it into the community behavioral health, community health space. And we're creating our space to be, and our self-professional profile to be data integrators, and really looking forward into the Web3 as the Web3 population health services solution. Yes, it seems, it is a vision, right? It is a vision, but that's where we're gearing ourselves to provide services and technology. So again, our why. What's the problem we're trying to solve, and what are some of the policy drivers? The use cases, we'll also address some of that. So as mentioned, both Adonai and Fresh Start serve a population of individuals who are just as impacted, right? Statistically speaking, in information from the Urban Institute of Policy and Justice Policy Center, more than 11 million individuals are admitted to jails each year. I don't know if you knew that. That's a lot of people, and maybe even growing. And of those 11 millions, based on this data, 96% of those people come back into the community and require services. Okay? And so part of the challenge is that being able to provide those services in a longitudinal way, right? Communication, coordination, and delivery of services to get positive outcomes is a challenge, because these individuals have both physical, mental, and substance abuse challenges, as well as challenges and experiences with housing, employment, family, etc. Those things that are considered the social determinants of health from a population health standpoint. This is a huge challenge that, again, oftentimes they are not using or have access to effective technology to have a cohesive way of providing care and services to those people who need it. An example of where the lack of coordination and communication occurred. This is just an example. This actually happened in 2009 in Tacoma, Washington. And Anna, would you mind talking a little bit, very briefly, because I know we're running out of time, kind of what your experience was, and then maybe Franklin, you can add to this, because again, you're in the trenches.
Hi there. So in 2009, a gentleman was considered to be an interstate transfer. And what that means is he was transferring from another state into our state out of prison. He had significant mental health and had a lot of issues that Texas was very well aware of. However, our state hadn't gotten all the paperwork and all the things that need to happen to follow him. In a mental health state, he shot 4 of our police officers in a coffee shop, because of the lack of services, had we had the information early enough, there would have been able to have an intervention to be able to have caught what was happening with him. His COs and all the correctional officers and the probation officers that were connected to him in his transfer would have, had they had the information, we would have been able to set up interventions, as well as been able to provide services to hopefully have been able to intervene. And frankly, I'm going to add you to this as well, because at this time you were actually with DOC when this situation happened, and can share a little bit more on the correctional side and the importance of being able to have that collaboration.
Thank you, Anna, and you're absolutely correct. I mean, one of the things, if I can, I'll go back. As I said, my name is Franklin Smith, and I'm the compliance and the contracts officer with Fresh Start, but I'm also Franklin Smith 923335, system impacted individual who has served time in the Department of Corrections. And because of my work in the community of successfully transitioning people back into the community, was recruited by the Department of Corrections in 2014 to come back and assist them in creating a pathway or transition model to basically try to do what we're talking about today. Let me back up for a minute, because I am also a vet. So I would like to, thank everybody that are veterans on this platform here, and thank you for your service. Because the one thing that we have found in the Department of Corrections and the work that I've done, including myself, is that here in Washington State, at least 30% of the population are individuals who identify or have served time, have served a period of time for our country. And a lot of them do not recognize or do not feel that they're veterans, either because of the situation that they're in now, or because of some other type of traumatic experience that they went through. And for these individuals coming back, as with the earlier slide that showed, they're a part of that 96% that comes back to the community. So for us, with the great work of Axion and the blockchain and the vision that we're trying to push, to be able to have a system in place where we have coordinated information to be able to continue the care that people are receiving inside the facility, transitioning that information and care to the community, we would be better able or better equipped to be able to facilitate the needs of the men and women who have served our country and those that are returning back to the community. This example that you're looking at in 2009 is not an isolated incident. It's actually, we just had one within the last 3 weeks here where an individual got into an altercation with law enforcement, took a gun, killed the law enforcement officer, and then ran over him. Come to find out, this individual had an extensive record with the Department of Correction, and he had extensive mental health inside the department and outside in the community that nobody had been tracking, or that information had not been shared through the different care providers that had been working with that gentleman. If a platform or if a model such as Axion was in place in the work that we're doing now, that information in record time could be moved from one situation, from one facility to another, from one provider to another, to say, hey, we have an individual that is not on his baseline and he is coming to your area, or he is coming back home to your household. Please be on the lookout for these type of behaviors or anything going on. Please notify law enforcement for the sake of safety and to reduce harm. There is not a coordinated effort in place right now that I know of that is sharing that information outside of these organizations or outside of these facilities, so that individuals and communities are better equipped to deal with what is going on in the minds of some of our brothers and sisters that we have been serving and that we live with, coexist with in the community. Dr. Ann?
Thank you. Thank you. So these are the powerful stories that we and the world need to hear and understand why the technology and its scalability and its security and all the things that blockchain does can provide in terms of making sure that providers like Anna, like Franklin and their teams can have that coordination of services and communication. And I know, this is not a new problem, right? That interoperability, we say that word all the time. And I know in current technology with FHIR and all of the work that ONC is doing, we're trying to solve that. But again, my thought is that with the decentralization of blockchain and the potential that it has, that we've talked about for years, truly can help to close that gap that we are currently experiencing. Okay. Another example, another use case, and this is a lot of text on the screen. I've highlighted again some of the challenges and issues. It's around that service coordination. It's around being able to better manage high utilizers of services who are high risk individuals with significant barriers, both mentally and physically. Again, not a new problem, same problem, but how can we spin it on its head and see how emerging technology like blockchain and all the other technology that's supportive to that, to blockchain or blockchain supports, can close some of these gaps. This is the why of what we're doing. So again, the problem, there's a digital divide at the community level. Funding was made in the past during ARA and for meaningful use for those qualified providers, right, within the acute care and the ambulatory space. Not much was made for allowances for the community providers. and they're the ones who really need the funding. There's also a lack of what I call contextual evidence-based data. You have data coming in from all different areas, right? Both from the EHRs or the EMRs, from IOMTs, from the community. And this data is siloed. When people are making decisions, they're usually not making decisions based on the context, the circumstances of that individual. And it is so important. There's a lack, as you know, of completeness of that data. There is a lag time in reporting vital information, just as we explained with the first use case as an example, even the second one, even more so, right? The data is in silo. And we need the security for this type of data, which I think that, for example, the blockchain that we're using, which is the Burst IQ blockchain, which is HIPAA compliant, as well as GDPR compliant and SOC 2 Type 2 compliant, really helps to support protecting of the data. In providing services to individuals within the community, we have to look at the whole person. And that whole person requires analysis and a combination of both their healthcare, their behavioral data, the physical, environmental data, and the social economic factors that affect that individual. And our solution, Axion Galaxy 360 Holistic Management Network, provides a way for the community providers to gather that information easily, and then to have that integration of that data to help them to make decisions within their programs. Policy drivers. The Biden's National Mental Health Strategy, as well as the 2008 Second Chance Act. These are policies that are driving the work that we are doing right now, the work that Anna and Franklin's team are doing, and will drive where the technology goes to support these needs. A lot of times you don't have an adoption of technology because there's no force to drive adoption, right? Policy usually helps to drive adoption. As recently as of April 25, Tuesday, this publication came out where the Biden administration is giving grants for housing and jobs for formerly incarcerated individuals, right? To be able to help the people who serve their time and are returning to the community, just as Franklin and Anna explained. So the time is now. The time is now for blockchain to really take its place within this community of users. So our journey, it started at a couple of years, and I'll talk a little bit about that. But most importantly for us is the community who came around us to help us to get where we are. The background, I don't know if you can mute, please. The Government Blockchain Association, GBA, and the Burst IQ organization, they were instrumental in supporting us. And Marquise Allen, who I know is on the call, when we had our meetings, he would call us leaders with big, juicy brains. And that's who they were to us, and they are to us. Our pilot site, Adonai, as well as Fresh Start. It only takes one person to say yes. And I say that because I remember doing my dissertation, and again, a lot of this comes out of my dissertation I did for my doctorate. I could not have been successful without one person saying yes, one organization saying yes. And I thank both Adonai and Fresh Start for saying yes, to giving us a platform, a space to launch our case management software built on blockchain. And then our vision for the future, leaning into the future and visualizing how the Web3, the decentralized web, as we're working towards that, and developing a new economy, right? And being able to exchange value can help to support the work that both Adonai and Fresh Start are currently doing. So our journey, like I said, in 2019, we started a formed organization, Exponential Health Tech Advisors. And between 2020 and 2021, we started ideating our use cases and the design and bootstrapping what we've done so far. We started building between 2021 and 2022, and we joined the Burst IQ Accelerator program to be able to get the technical assistance we need, and then again to get involved and build on the platform. We deployed our pilot sites this month, April into May. We'll get both into place. There's noise in the background. Between June and August of this year, we're stabilizing and then start collecting some KPIs. And then between September, December, the Delta KPIs and evaluate mostly around usability, I think, right now. And then by 2023, between now and then, go to market and hopefully get some funding. Okay. We offer as an organization, I think our product sits at the intersection where mental health, physical health, social services, justice involvement, and substance abuse all intersect, right? That whole individual, as I talked about, and being able to integrate that data. We're also will be working and open to work with other organizations who want to start a program just like what Adonai does or Fresh Start does, and then bring the technology to help wrap around the actual services provided to help support that delivery of services and the management of it. When I think about the Web3, again, there's so much in the Web3, right? But what I'm thinking about initially is really taking that virtual reality aspect of it and taking some of the life skills training that Adonai and Fresh Start currently do, and putting that into a position where their community users can leverage that VR, and in some way down the road, that metaverse concept to help them with their life skills training. Okay. Our product, this is our product. Again, just getting into a demo, just a snapshot again. It's very fresh looking, very easy to use. In fact, the other day, Anna's 12-year-old, we gave her access to one of our non-production environments, and she was able to log in and use it. And I laugh about Geico saying, it's so easy, even a caveman can do it. Well, it's so easy to use, even a 12-year-old can do it. And so, when I think about the feasibility and when I think about ease of use, in the PhD studies, you have a theory-based approach that you take to your work. And in the technology adoption model, right, you have ease of use. Ease of use makes it easy to adopt technology. And so we built it with that in mind, how easy it is to use, right? So it's very fresh. It incorporates not only some of the documentation around mental health, but also around some of the social context and social data and the social determinants of health, family, income, housing, et cetera, okay? And then we also include appointment scheduling where they can schedule their clients, and of course, help with the case management, intake, employment services, behavioral health, inventory management. And we also have a client portal where they can send a link to their clients to complete an intake form before they show up on site. So that's what we've developed so far, again, on blockchain. So again, leaning into the future, as I mentioned, right? Why do I even envision having us becoming a nose cone for the community-based organizations leaning into the Web3 space? It's about changing that place of value. right? As we know, the blockchain is an exchange of value. Our next phase of web integration is exchange of value. I believe that with using the blockchain as well as with the concepts and components and artifacts of Web3, we can truly support what community-based organizations are trying to do. Taking the ownership and the locus of control from institutions and putting it into the hands of individuals, giving them control over their own data. Who do I share my data with? Who do I don't want to share my data with? Right? Also incentivizing them to wellness and to doing positive having social behaviors, right? By maybe doing some kind of tokenization, again, to be developed further. But I see the potential where, the technology is supporting what the providers and their programs are trying to do and are doing with their clients. And again, that is the reason, my emphasis is that is the reason why we do what we do as innovators, as technologists, as people who are visionaries, using the technology to elevate the delivery of care. The other thing too, I envision, and this is something I set out to work out with Burst IQ. I haven't started this yet, but I'm putting the vision out there. Their life graph network is creating something for community-based organizations where we do that integration of the physical, behavioral, social determinants of health and the criminogenic data to ethically promote social health and equity and safety in the community. And then to be able to use that data to assess risks and quality of life. And at the end of the day, hopefully have a safer and a healthier community. And that's it. That's my presentation. And I hope that my presentation touched your hearts today, as well as your mind, and really incentivize you to really think about how our technology and what we're creating and the data that we're aggregating, how we will use that to make people's lives better, both from the provider as well as the clients or the patients who will be impacted by the work that we do. You know, when I'm leading in an acute care space or in the ambulatory space, and I tell my technical people, I said, every decision that you make here technically affects an individual, a patient laying in the bed. It's the same thing at the community level. Every decision we make from a technology standpoint affects the client that they're servicing and the communication and the management and the overall outcomes, both from the individual as well as for the community. I thank you for your time. And like I said, I hope it touched your heart. And I thank my leaders, my community leaders. We could not have done this without you. And you know, my team, I know, appreciate you and all the work that you're doing. Thank you. And I'm open for questions.
Thanks, Dr. Ingram. This was wonderful. I think that you touched a lot of people. I saw a lot of comments in chat. I want to pass it to Sandy first because he's had his hand raised for a while. So, Sandy, would you mind coming off mute and chiming in?
And thank you for an excellent presentation. I really liked the Venn diagram that was shared. This is very interesting. And so one question, and of course, I don't have chat, but I think Josh might have dropped it into chat, is a reference to the Veterans Affairs National Artificial Intelligence Institute's tech sprint that Dr. Raphael Fricks overseas. And I'd like to know from Adonai if they have gone through that sprint or are going to, because I was familiar when I was there with Josh over at Denai, not of a specific company's names, but the holistic approach, that there were some companies that were going through the sprint doing a holistic approach. And then the second part of the question about whether or not you are familiar or had gone through the sprint is, and this is something that Josh brings up, is there AI in this, or are you doing analytics on the data that you have, the metadata in your blockchain? Over.
So, Sandy, no, from the sprints, no, I have not gone through that, or I don't think Ad and I fresh start because I don't think we're aware of it. So any information you can share, and I see Josh has some information on the screen here, would be very helpful. And to the AI component of it, it's not built in as yet. We're just started. We are at the version 1.0.0. So we're just starting out in development. And of course, we'll be requiring additional funding, et cetera, to take it to the next levels.
Dr. Ingram, so
Yes.
I shared the link in chat for the tech sprints. We do have one that's coming up soon. I would say within the next maybe 60 days, we're looking to announce. So please feel free, and I'd be happy to reach out to you. I'm going to reach out to this whole group once they're released. But you can also join our AI at VA community. And this is something I would suggest for everyone. Please go ahead and sign up. We release different things such as discussions, notes from our director. And when we have announcements such as a tech sprint, then we'll put that out there and we'll send it to everyone on the mailing, on the email list. The part that there are two things that I wanted to mention. The first one was that the value of adding AI to VR training for law enforcement when it comes to situations like this, especially when it comes to different mental health scenarios. That was something that really spoke to me. Mm-hmm. And that was something that I sent Sandy a text about, and that's something I would love to see incorporated, once additional data is gathered on different mental health situations about applying that to training, because I posted a link as well. On the flip side of officers being injured, we also run the risk of excessive force being used against people who are mentally unstable, whether it's PTSD, whether it's autism. And obviously, no matter how you look at it, whenever a situation is escalated that could have been avoided due to the sharing of data in a decentralized but still HIPAA compliant way, it's a tragedy. So there's a lot of value to both the community and to our partners, our colleagues in the justice area, that I think really, there's room to speak to that. The other thing I wanted to touch on, Tina, I think, had to leave, but she also mentioned foster children. I chimed in with autistic children and those with mental disorders. Where does that play a role, and where do you see that shaping into your overall mission and goals?
Yeah. So let me, Anna, you still on?
Tina?
Yes, I'm here.
Okay. So I'm going to have Anna Pereira speak to the work that she is doing and has done with children who are maybe special needs. Anna, Tina mentioned foster children, but I think that you do work with disabled children. Maybe talk a little bit about that. And to your point, Joshua, the solution that she's using, Axion Galaxy, will help her with documenting information on those individuals. So Anna, talk a little bit about the work you've done with the special needs children.
Well, I think in regards to kind of an aspect of everything that you were asking, whether it's working with individuals with children, or it's working with adults with intellectual disabilities, or individuals who, any of the participants that we have, having an ability to be able to capture one story and to be able to get the feedback of all those that are involved. I actually was spent 7 years as one of the first job developers to start to close down our state's shelter workshops and doing employment placement. And a lot of the folks that I worked with were nonverbal and had, really significant disabilities. One of the biggest problems that we had was being able to take that person's story and be able to transfer it to the next person that was going to work with them. And especially when you're dealing with individuals that have those intellectual disabilities, or have where their ability to be able to communicate is impacted, it is so important that we are very careful and how we how we work with them, how we capture what works, what doesn't work. And I think what's really powerful about the database of Axion Galaxy is that we can capture that person's story. I can work with someone right now and be able to put my information in. The person that's going to come right behind me is right there. I can talk in real time with someone. If I'm job developing or I'm job coaching with someone, I can, say, hey, listen, here's something that I found that works really well with them. And I know he's getting ready to go home to you in your house. He shared this little bit of, or I learned this little piece of information. Them having that information with someone who doesn't communicate means all the difference in the world as we start to build a relationship with them. Does that kind of answer your question? I know we're kind of really short on time, so I want to make sure I get that answered well, but I'm hoping that gave you what you're asking.
It certainly addresses some of my questions. Tina, was there a follow-up that you wanted to make to that?
No, I'm just super excited about this. I know I talked a lot about foster kids, but it's just where my heart is right now.
Yep.
And I love this. And I put my email in the chat. If anybody wants to talk about this further, I would love to. I got to log off, but thank you so much, you guys.
Thank you, Tina. We'll reach out to you. Thank you.
Yes.
I want to pass it over to Michael Noel, who has his hand up, and then I think we've run out of time for this meeting. Thank you all for being here, and please go ahead and ask your question, Mr. Noel.
You're on mute, Michael. Okay, maybe he stepped away.
No worries. Well, Dr. Ingram, thank you for your wonderful presentation. I will not let you unmute.
Oh, okay. Can you unmute him?
No. I'm going to stop the recording now.
Okay.